the other screen. My mum, who's also in the audience over there, she's actually an old friend of Nick's, and when I was like 15, I was studying for my GCSE chemistry exam, and Nick came over for dinner and started trying to offer me chemistry advice, and and we got chatting at that point, and then we kind of got to know each other over the years. We went to Burning Man together a couple of times, and so I've kind of been wanting to tell this story for many, many years, and then Connie was in the process of also trying to tell the same story, and we kind of got together, and she knew Tim, and then it all happened from there, which we were very lucky about.
We remained silent for many years, being a fugitive.
Right.
You want to keep your mouth shut and keep your head down. So, and when it came to telling the story had been told wrong, and we thought that Cosmo would tell it right, and we had a sense about him. And I'm not disappointed at all, and neither is Carol. We're not different, we're the same. The government changed, and the people that were a part of the government that were prosecuting us, those people all changed. We never did. We're not working for the government, we believed in what we did, and they didn't believe in what they were doing. So
It took about 2 years overall, I think, or less than 2 years, about a year and a half, I guess. And we did about 3 days of interviews with Tim and Nick, and they both operate on very different hours. Tim wakes up at 4 in the morning every day, whereas Nick goes to bed at 4 in the morning every day. So, and so we kind of did 3 days, and then we came back, and then we got Mike and Alice involved, and actually did an interview with Carol that was great that we didn't get to include, that was with Mike, and then the last people we got were the cops, basically.
First of all, I want to thank you guys so much for making the finest LSD that I've ever taken.
I thought that Stephen was asking about the positive and negative influences on society.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies. Yes, we're in society.
So, what we were trying to do was to wake people up and make them feel a sense of kinship with each other and with the natural world, and to be gentler with each other and with the natural world. And I think to some limited extent, we succeeded in part of that. The problem is that not everybody, I mean, even those of us who took a lot of acid and had really good peak experiences didn't always behave ideally after that. It wasn't the cure-all for every problem that I had originally hoped it would be. And in the end, when I was dodging grand jury subpoenas in Europe, I ran into some evangelical Christians who had exactly the same gleam in their eyes that we had when we were making acid. And I realized that what we were trying to do wasn't new at all, that a lot of people reached peak experiences in various ways, through different religions, political experiences, or whatever, and that they ran into the same things that we ran into, which is that no matter how you have that experience, you still have to live your everyday life, and the psychedelic experience isn't a cure for being an imperfect person. As it was, too many very young people, even children, ended up getting access to drugs that probably they weren't ready for, and given the government propaganda machine that cranked up to try to make everyone colorblind to the differences between different kinds of drugs, all too many people would smoke pot or take acid and say, okay, that was all right, so why don't I go ahead and take heroin or methadone or whatever and try them too? And all too many people did that and got into really deep trouble. So, you know, it was a mixed bag. There are people who, you know, there are all the brothers who took on the dangerous work of spreading the acid that we made around the world, and quite a few of them ended up paying a heavy price for doing that. So we weren't the only ones who got sent to prison.
We were idealistic, and, you know, in a fit of idealism, we thought maybe this is gonna be the thing that's gonna heal everything. Well, of course, that's not quite true. But the positive influences of LSD are just still reverberating, and through the youth and through America. I think it is a game changer. And I redefine myself as a cheerleader for neurological evolution, and taking LSD is just that, in my opinion. It is the next step forward in the human brain and the human consciousness. And if some people fell by the wayside, it's a lot better than going to Vietnam or to do other things and where the people fall by the wayside. We all believed in what we were doing. I still believe in it. I think everybody in this audience should take LSD. My wife and I haven't taken LSD in all of about 4 weeks now. And we take it with our kids, who are no longer kids, they're middle-aged adults, to even some older adults.
It's sacred.
It's a sacred molecule. It's a sacred molecule. I will never quit preaching about the benefits of LSD.
First thing is the humor. He was struck by the humor that's in the film, so maybe talk a little bit about that.
Great.
I guess the humour comes from the fact that if you've ever taken acid, there's quite a lot of kind of laughing that's involved, and so I thought it would only be a kind of true reflection of the kind of spirit in which acid was taken to have some humour, and these guys are pretty funny as well. So that's why we did that, and and then the archive. We were incredibly lucky. Somehow, Nick had the idea to give someone a video camera and film them in a lab, which Tim didn't know about because he would have freaked out if he had known. And so we ended up having this amazing archive of them in the lab.
What are your long-term reflections on the nature of the unitary oversoul that appears to be reading off of all life on Earth that is revealed by the psychedelic experience? Do you see this as something that Marvin Minsky's brain agencies do, but is basically a cognitive illusion with perhaps beneficial effects, but nevertheless not the containment of our reality? Or is Nick Bostrom right? Are we living in a simulator? Or is this extraterrestrial? What are your reflections on that?
Too far out.
You're thinking too much.
Too far out.
It's way simpler than that.
Yeah.
Stop thinking.
It's inward. Go within.
God.
It'll teach you. Go within. It'll teach you.
And that's what it's all about. It's about love. And it's about coming from your heart and being real.
Would you encourage anybody in this room, would you recommend taking acid?
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
Everybody.
In the right set and setting.
Yes, the right set and
Yeah.
setting. It's very
In the right
important.
it's all about set and setting.
Not at a rave, go out to the beach, be in nature.
What do we say?
Don't drink alcohol and then decide to take
Waves,
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 not
not raves.
Go watch some waves, don't go to the waves.
Okay, on that bit of expert advice, I think we're going to wrap things up, and I want to thank you so much for joining us here in New York City for this